Hello and welcome to Digital Nation with me, Kerry Moore. It's the show where we voyage the length and breadth of the United Kingdom to find out what stories some of the country's local TV stations have been uncovering. In this week's show, we meet a Snapchat star in Bristol. We discover the reality of life on the streets in Glasgow. And we try Cuddle Therapy in Brighton. And if you're watching at home, you can tweet about us using the hashtag #DigitalNation. First up this week, we're heading to Nottingham, where one local woman who suffers from a rare heart condition is braving the cold and running a half marathon in the Arctic. To get herself ready, she's been training in a specially designed freezer at Nottingham Trent University.
I ran London 3 times, Boston, New York, a back-to-back marathon at home in my home county in Ireland, Loch Ness, Liverpool, Nottingham even, did Nottingham 2 years ago.
Not content with the tens of thousands of pounds she's raised by running in positive temperatures, though, Regina has signed up to run later this year on the frozen waters of the North Pole. This time round, she's collecting for the Heart of Experian charity fund as she takes on her most daunting challenge yet.
It was always a full marathon I've been training for. Then I was diagnosed with a heart condition in November 2016. So with recommendations from cardiologists and so on, I've decided to go to the half marathon.
Recent stormy weather notwithstanding, training for an Arctic run when you live in the UK is tricky. Fortunately, Nottingham has just the bit of kit she needs.
So this is our environmental chamber that we have here at Nottingham Trent University. We use it for research purposes and we also use it for consultancy work as well. So working with local athletes competing in extreme environments, so we help in their preparations for that. We can alter the temperature in here and the relative humidity, and we can also alter the percentage of oxygen as well to simulate altitude.
Staff and students at the university have been helping her to acclimatise before she's even set foot on the ice.
My nose is freezing already. I've only been in here a few minutes. But you know what? It's actually made me feel really confident. I'm really looking forward to the half marathon now. The only thing I really do wish I was running the marathon, but better safe than sorry, I suppose.
From the millionaire beauty bloggers to the rich kids of Instagram, social media is a crazy world. But one British man has made a name for himself, travelling the world to make short films for one app that used to be best known for its brevity. Made in Bristol caught up with him to find out all about his very 21st century journey.
Have you ever wanted to take a picture of yourself that disappears after 10 seconds?
There's an app for that. Have you ever wanted to send someone a selfie with a pair of dog ears attached to your head?
Well, there's an app for that. Have you ever wanted to swap your face with anyone that you've ever taken a picture of? Well, there's an app for that.
And that app is Snapchat. Back in 2011, this app hit the market and was an instant hit with smartphone users all over the world. So as we've already established, Snapchat is a creative way to keep in contact with friends, family and followers. But like most social media nowadays, if you're good at it, you can make a living by posting content. And one rising Snapchat star from the UK is doing just that.
Hey Jamie, how's it going?
Hello, Andy. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Andy Burgess began creating cinematic epics through Snapchat's story feature. He quickly started getting noticed and now travels all over the world Snapchatting for big brands and businesses.
My face is on Times Square! Basically, a story consists of lots of different snaps put together. So a snap can be either a picture or a video that lasts up to 10 seconds. So you can take this photo or this video and you can draw on it, you can add text, you can add emojis, and then you add it to your story, which is public for everyone who follows you, and it's available online for 24 hours and then it disappears completely.
So I'm going to end this story today here. It's been a manic couple of hours, but Washington DC, you're incredible, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
To Oxfordshire now to meet a couple who are on the hunt for a life-saving bone marrow transplant for their infant son. Ali Kim was born with a rare genetic condition, and his family have scoured the world's databases for a donor, but still haven't found a match. So that's Oxfordshire went along to meet Ali and his parents.
A happy child who loves to laugh and be tickled. Ali's been battling with a life-threatening disease since he was born. He needs a bone marrow transplant to save his life. Ali's parents have held around 85 bone marrow screenings to find a match for Ali, but so far there's been no luck.
We started searching around last summer when we realized that he doesn't have a match in the donor bank already. And we used social media a lot because that's what's used nowadays. And people have been very positive about signing up and spreading the word. But yet, because he is of Korean descent, his match would likely be an East Asian person. And so we just don't happen to have that person.
Without any luck of a bone marrow donor, Ali started receiving treatment known as gene therapy.
It's experimental. It's where you remove your own stem cells, they process them to try to correct that gene, and then you go back to hospital, they give you chemo to clear out your bone marrow, and you return your cells.
But it's the bone marrow transplant that will save Ali's life. Even when Ali is at home and at his happiest, he's still in constant need for treatment.
They sent us home to do IVs 3 times a day, and they're antibiotics and antifungals. And so I took the time to get trained to do that. But in any case, he has this chronic granulomatous disease, and so another infection could appear at any time. So we're looking for a bone marrow donor who could be his match, and we hope that people would please sign up so that if we find his match and he has a bone marrow transplant, he would be cured forever.
Despite having searched all the world databases for a match and without any luck, Andrew and Judy Kim remain hopeful as their search continues.
Most of us have our very own local public house, the bar where everyone knows your name. For locals in the Birmingham district of Aston, the Barton Arms is one such pub. The team at Made in Birmingham just had to pay a visit for a cheeky pint.
There are plenty of pubs across the West Midlands that have plenty of rich history. One of them that has all of that, plus a few famous faces that have been here in the past, is the Barton Arms here in Aston. Now, John, you run some pretty special tours that kind of tell everyone a little bit more about the history here and also some of those famous faces.
Aston, of course, is the home of heavy metal music, so Ozzy Osbourne and the Boys would often be seen in here. And, of course, the main ones, Laurel and Hardy, who appeared at the Aston Hippodrome, which was just across the way there, and they stayed here in the Barton Arms. Well, behind us is the working class area of the pub. Originally there was a door here, and if you were drinking in that part of the pub, you were not allowed to come into this section of the pub. And your toilets or your urinals were outside. So, I mean, just look at that staircase. It's absolutely breathtaking. Not just the staircase, but the tiles that go all the way up. And on top of the tiles, a beautiful stained glass window, which you will be able to see. You can see the logo of Mitchells and Butlers in the middle, and erected in 1901. The pub was purchased in 1899, but it opened in 1901.
So, John, tell us about where we are right now.
OK, we're right in the cellar now of the Barton Arms, and this is the original chute, and this is still where the beer comes in. And as you can see over the years, the steps have become chipped.
Yeah, it starts to be chipped, isn't it?
Because the original barrels would fit the length of the chute. Nowadays, the barrels are all different sizes. Another important feature of the Barton Arms cellar is this trough that goes down the middle of the pub. Can you see it there?
It running all the way along, can't you? Yeah.
The Victorians used the slope to their advantage. They put this trough in, so if somebody dropped a barrel of beer, or if it rains in, it will be the water would just be taken away from one side of the pub and it would go out the other side of the pub. So this cellar will never flood. It's a good idea, isn't it?
In AD 122, Hadrian gave us a wall. But did you know that in 2008, he also gave us a cup? Yes, the Hadrian Cup brings together lesbian, gay, bisexual and trans rugby clubs from all over the country. So this year, the North East's only gay team, the Newcastle Ravens, are hosting the big contest.
Yes, well, I am lucky enough to have bagged myself my own team. OK, so we've got Newcastle, Manchester, Ravens, Spartans. You guys are enemies though. You're all sitting very civilised around each other now. Are you not wanting to be sort of putting each other off? Yeah. Okay. So guys, how's the tournament going so far for both teams?
Great. I've been playing for the Unicorns today to help them out, so we're quite friendly, helping each other, all the different teams out and stuff like that. And we won our second game.
Woo-hoo.
So yeah. And they've only been going 6 months.
Okay, and what about you guys? How's it going so far in the tournament?
Manchester Spartans, we're putting in some good runs and some tackles. We haven't won, but the guys just don't enjoy it either way.
And do you get a lot of fulfilment as well, playing as part of the team? And how rewarding is it to do this hobby?
Well, it's really good. The beauty I like about being part of an IGR team is that we get to meet people from all over the United Kingdom, all different gay teams, but the Newcastle Ravens also play in a local league, so we're not just playing against gay guys, we play against straight teams in a normal straight league, and we just have a good time. Everyone's got a good crack, it's really good fun.
More than just the team, isn't it? We do loads of community stuff as well, so a couple of weeks ago we've been helping people move house that have been nearby with disability issues, social events, and it's just really about getting out there and making everyone aware of what the team can do. And I knew nothing about rugby when I joined in September, and now here I am playing against these guys in about half an hour, so yeah, it's brilliant. So it's there for anybody of any talent, any age, and just come along and enjoy it.
That's the beauty of gay rugby as well, because it gets you proper involved in sport, which is something that most gay rugby teams are now growing. A lot more people are getting involved. You don't just have one team, you can have 3 teams. So we've got 3 teams in our club. The Ravens are growing. And there's new teams setting up all the time all over the country. So generally, it's really good for rugby as well.
Well, that brings us to the end of part 1, but as always, it is time for our weekly quiz. So, where was the first ever English bicycle made? Was it A, Derby, B, Preston, or C, Coventry? Join us to find out the answer after the break. Hello and welcome back to Digital Nation. Before the break, we asked you, where was the first ever English bicycle made? And the answer, it is of course C, Coventry. Yes, indeed, the Aerial was built in 1870 with a large front and a small rear wheel. And interestingly, the Rover Car Company grew from the family firm that made the Aerial. Now, it's likely to have been a long and uncomfortable winter for many homeless people around the country, and in Glasgow, the winter night shelter has been busy. David Farrell from STV Glasgow went to meet some of the homeless people using the service and those who are there to help them.
So it's just coming up for 10 o'clock. The doors will open in round about 5 minutes here in the winter night shelter. Up to 40 people can come in here tonight into the warmth, get something to eat, get something hot to drink as well. So in a couple of minutes, the security checks will happen and everyone will start to take their beds.
Graham, the doors are just about to open. What will happen as people make their way in tonight?
So we'll have up to 40 men and women who are homeless in our city. They have nowhere else to sleep, and they can come into the Glasgow Winter Night Shelter, have a safe, warm place where they can enjoy a safe night's sleep. They can be talking to our staff and our volunteers, and we'll seek to not only provide that accommodation but connect them to other sources of help in the city too.
John, this isn't your first time in the shelter, is it?
No, it's just my first. I've been coming in the night shelters for the past 3 years, 4 years.
Okay.
5 years maybe.
And what difference do you find? How does it help you coming into a place like this?
Having a bed, a nice warm bed to go and lie in to rest. It takes a toll on your body, you know, and you get run down. And you get run down. Your body's an engine. You need to fuel it up, get energy. You keep going.
Tomorrow morning when you wake up, what does it look like for you?
Right, to me, when I wake up in the morning, I'll wake up in the morning and I say to myself, I've got to get up, get myself out of this situation, try and get somewhere where I can get a sensation of freedom away from just being on the streets, drug abuse, alcoholism.
Everybody is an individual with compassion, with care, but this is an emergency situation, so yes, here's accommodation, but what are the help sources that are available for you to help you move out of this situation and onwards?
To Ely now, where that's Cambridge met an Iranian refugee who came to the UK some 3 decades ago. The issue of refugees is an intensely political topic across the world. But as this story demonstrates, behind the statistics and the headlines, there are many extraordinary personal stories.
I left Iran based on the fact that I was not allowed to work unless I will serve the army for 3 years. And I refused to participate during the war between Iran and Iraq. Reason for that, I didn't want to kill, be a murderer. I think the real message is why refugees exist and how do we get rid of this crisis. Refugees are obviously here because of two main reasons. One is war and one is economic crisis. And to end this crisis, as I said, there's only one way, the unity of the people worldwide.
And Saeed's talk prompted discussion among the audience and gave members pause for thought.
I was interested in the Iranian perspective because I spent 2 weeks there last year, had a very interesting time. It's a fascinating country, but it was interesting to hear a different perspective and see life from a very different angle to what I saw.
3 years later, his wife was able to join him in England, bringing their daughter, who he met for the first time.
It's good to see him share that with other people because it's outside of the family unit and also gives him a chance to hear what other people have to say about it and, you know, open a dialogue in his community.
Some of the world's greatest technological advances were made here in Britain. Over to Creative Kingdom to find out about just some of them.
Whether it's on your wall, in your pocket, on your desk or in your life, there's a very good chance it was born in Britain. Here's a tiny selection of some of the technological innovations that have made our lives better. The Cash Point Machine, John Shepherd Barron, 1967, Enfield. The Fax Machine, Alexander Bain, 1843, Caithness. The Hovercraft, Christopher Cockerell, 1955, Cowes. Silicon, Frederick Kipping, 1901, Nottingham. LCD Technology, George Gray, 1973, Hull. The Microphone, David Edward Hughes, 1878, Corwin. Proof, if it were ever needed, that when it comes to creativity, innovation and turning out boffins by the score, in the UK Mint.
We're getting on our bikes to Grimsby now, where one local man has well and truly gone against the grain by setting up his very own mobile bakery. Well, Andy Black was made redundant and needed a job, so he turned to baking bread to make some dough. But now he's launched his bread by bike, he really is on a roll.
Tucked away in the village of Tilby, a former helicopter pilot has turned his skills to baking. On discovering that his role as an offshore helicopter pilot for Humberside Airport was to be made redundant last October, Andy Black had to find a new source of employment to support his family. Determined not to move his family from the home they love, Andy decided to take his interest in baking bread to the next level. As a result, he created a mobile bakery serving the village of Tilby.
I'd enjoyed baking on a small scale for friends and family. I'd done some bread baking, but not that much before on this scale. So it was mainly just a case of trying to work out how to increase the scale and organise things. So I read some books, watched YouTube, spoke with bakers who have been really helpful. When I began baking the first few weeks, I was doing about 20 or 30 loaves. Now I'm doing about 130. And then it's largely down to organising. Waking at 2:30 in the morning on Friday and Saturday, and then the bread's ready to go out the house by 9. I bake on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On Thursdays I do walnut bread and rye bread, and I deliver that in the afternoon and fit that around the kids' school who go to school in the local village school here. Friday, Saturday, Sundays I do morning loaves, or loaves that people are more likely to have for breakfast. So I do a granary, I do a white loaf and wholemeal loaf. I've been overwhelmed by the interest and enthusiasm and support from people within Tilby. I've got regular orders now of around 120 loaves a week of people every week having the same order, which is really nice.
Who doesn't love a good cuddle? I mean, I can't think of much that makes me feel happier than having a nice big hug. And the folks in Brighton clearly are an affectionate bunch too, as Latest TV found out when they went along to try something called Cuddle Therapy.
You've heard of meditation, you've heard of yoga, but have you heard of the new trend of Cuddle Therapy? It's kicked off in America and it's now here in Brighton. I'm here at About Balance to see what it's all about.
I've got a wide variety of clients. I think it's a lot more awareness around people's needs when it comes to touch, and more acceptance, which I think is something that's happening slowly. But we do have that science that actually backs up the need for it, which I think is making it more acceptable. All sorts of benefits that it has. So yeah, it can help with feeling more confident and more comfortable with touch, because they get to experience it in a really safe environment with those boundaries and knowing exactly what their expectations are.
Well, after the first session, all the nervousness was gone, and I actually felt much more confident than when I first came in.
How's that making you feel now?
Better.
Calmer?
Calmer, better. It feels like I have someone beside me and I feel less lonely.
Cool. Well, whatever you think of Cuddle Therapy in Brighton, don't knock it till you try it, is what I say.
Finally, we're paying a visit to Edinburgh Zoo to meet their new red pandas. The red panda is a very cute critter indeed, but it's an endangered species, and so STV Edinburgh went along to find out about the European Animal Breeding Programme that's aiming to help protect these adorable animals.
Tell me a bit about them, how they got their names. Did you have to name them here at the zoo?
So our female is called Ginger and our male is called Bruce. They actually came with those names from the zoos that they had originally come from, and Bruce is actually named after Bruce the shark from Finding Nemo.
So they don't look traditionally like the giant pandas that we see. Why are they called red pandas?
No, that's right. So between red pandas and giant pandas were the first ones to get the panda name, and then they discovered many years ago the giant panda. They eat pretty much the same thing, and the giant panda is obviously a lot bigger than a red panda, so that's how the giant panda originally got its name. But as you say, they're not actually related to giant pandas at all. Their closest living relative is actually like the raccoon family.
So they're related to the raccoon family. Raccoons are very cheeky, they tend to pinch things and, you know, are known for going and stealing food out of people's houses. Do these guys have a little bit of that characteristic? Are they cheeky? Do they give you the odd way, I'm looking at you kind of thing and wink at you?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, yeah, our female Ginger, who arrived last week, she's still a bit nervous, but Bruce is getting more confident every day. So.
Thank you for joining us on our tour around this week's local TV offerings. If you have missed any of the previous 70+ episodes, do not forget you can catch up on the BBC iPlayer or by visiting your own local TV channel's website. So, until next time, goodbye.